Form 1, Lesson 4. We're talking about utility. Utility. So look at this dairy cow on the cover page. You can see the udder is full of milk. It means that this cow is useful. If you give this cow is milked, it will supply enough milk for the household and for the market. So this cow certainly has utility. So that is just a small introduction. Utility is the satisfaction derived from consuming a commodity at a given time. Utility is the satisfaction derived from consuming a commodity at a given time. It thus means that through consumption we fulfill a need. And that is just what we were saying, that you produce because you want your product to be consumed, or you know that your product to be consumed. Otherwise, in economic terms, you will not produce. And this product or commodity is consumed because it fulfills a need or a desire. When it fulfills a need or a desire, that is what makes it. It means that it has utility. Now, let's look at this word need or desire. A need, of course, all of us know, is a want. I mean, it could be thirst, hunger, desire to cover your nakedness, the desire for education, health, need, and so on. So the needs are unlimited. They are unlimited. Now, but what are desires? Desires are not actually needs as such. Desires occur when you see something and then, or you are convinced to like something, or you see it and you like it. And this is mostly the case with things like luxury goods. For example, if you buy a car, it is because you need that car. You need to go to work, to go to church, to visit friends. If you buy 3 cars, it may not be because you need 3 cars. It is simply because you have seen a car that you like, a beautiful car. So it is now a desire. You want to fulfill a desire. A woman has 25 dresses. Maybe that should be okay for her. But because she has money, in her wardrobe, she has 500 dresses. That is no longer need, it is now desire. As she sees something that is nice, she buys. So part of persuasive advertisement is directed at such people who desire. That is when you see something and then you like it and then you desire it. It is not because you actually need it. So when desire now becomes too hot, it becomes like a need. So when a good or a service has utility, it means that it is useful. What makes us to consume a good or a service? It's its utility, as we have said. You cannot consume a useless or worthless thing. Nobody does that. I'm sure that you will not do that. Okay, in this picture, it shows a carton full of rubbish. All what is in it can only be thrown away. You can see the peelings from biscuits. There's something like an empty tin of sardine, waterproof papers. These are not things that you can use to do anything. They're just to be discarded. This is a rubbish, a carton for rubbish, and they are to be discarded. So, do they have any utility? None of them. You use them for what? Nothing. Nobody wants them, so they have to be thrown away, so they don't have any utility. I hope you have seen. Now, utility is a tricky issue. There are situations where some other person may come and discover that there is an item here that he can use. at that time. That's why some people go to rubbish dumps, pick up things that you discarded because you did not need them, and then they make use of them. So to that particular person, it has utility. To you, it doesn't have. If you understood that, that is good. Yeah. Let's look at this, our cow here. It is a commodity and satisfies a want, that is milk. It provides milk. Okay, look at the cows on this other side. They are all commodities. They satisfy a need to move around a place from place to place fast. So they satisfy a want. So we could now consider that they have utility. So when we talk about utility, as we have described, it means that we're talking about things, commodities that are useful, goods or services that have utility. Now, when we look at utility, they divide it into two main forms. There's total utility. Total utility. Total utility is the satisfaction as achieved from consuming a commodity, consuming a commodity. So it is the total satisfaction achieved from consuming a commodity. It means that if we buy a bunch of ripe bananas and start eating, if I buy a bunch of maybe 10 ripe bananas and I start eating, as long as I eat the bananas, that's consumption, total utility increases. Total utility increases because I'm getting satisfaction from eating the bananas. So I hope you've gotten that. So if a thirsty man, for example, is offered a liter of ice cold water, the total utility would be the total satisfaction he achieves from drinking the water, the liter of water. That is, if he drinks the whole liter of water, the total utility in this case is the total satisfaction he has achieved from drinking this 1 liter of water. If we look at like food, somebody is hungry, you give him a bowl of rice, he eats the bowl of rice. So the total utility achieved is not 1 spoon of rice that he took, it is the whole bowl of rice that he ate. It's the whole bowl of rice that he ate. If you drink a crate of beer, the total utility is the satisfaction you got from drinking that crate of beer. So that is how we best describe the word total utility. All of you who are students, if a hungry student is offered a bowl of gari, and many of you take gari in cold water, a bowl of gari in cold water, especially when you are thirsty and the water is icy. The total utility would be the total satisfaction to be gained from the consumption of the whole bowl of gari. So you understand. As you eat the whole bowl of gari, you get total utility. It should be understood, however, that the satisfaction achieved may vary from mouthful to mouthful, and the degree of satisfaction may reduce as you eat more. I mean, what am I saying? A very hungry student, you give him a bowl of gari in cold water with enough sugar, maybe with some granules on top to make it taste. The first mouthful, second, third, is very satisfactory to him because he was very hungry. So he's enjoying his gari. But as he is more than halfway through that bowl of gari, maybe the satisfaction he gets from each mouthful is not like the first mouthful he took. But he's still enjoying his gari, though. It's just that the satisfaction, as it is going on and on and on until the bowl of Gary becomes empty, the satisfaction is less than it was getting at the beginning. It's just like when they talked about that bottle of water you give to a very thirsty man. The first gulps that he takes are so wonderful. After that, he keeps drinking. He's enjoying the water less. And maybe same thing with beer. And there are many other examples. But whatever the case, total utility considers the total satisfaction he receives from whatever is consuming. So, when we have total utility, we have now what we call marginal utility. Marginal utility, this is the extra amount of satisfaction derived from the consumption of an additional unit of a commodity. This is the extra amount of satisfaction derived from the consumption of an additional unit of a commodity. You know, this theory is based on the assumption that the satisfaction, what we have just said earlier, the satisfaction achieved from the consumption of a commodity reduces as you continue consuming. So, it considers each additional unit of consumption. That's marginal utility. That's marginal utility. So, as we said, this theory of marginal utility is based on the assumption, which we just had earlier on, that when you are consuming, the consumption of a commodity reduces as you continue consuming. So it considers only the additional units of consumption. That is, the marginal utility does not consider everything. It considers only the marginal units of consumption. So we can give an example here to make it easier. We can say the units of consumption. We could take teacups, or we could take glasses of water. So if we look at the case of teacups, the assumption is that when you take the first teacup, the satisfaction that you get from it is more than what you get from the second teacup, and the satisfaction from it is more than what you get from the third, and is more than what you get from the fourth. At the level of the fourth teacup, marginal utility might have dropped to zero, because, you might have had, your stomach might be full of tea, and you're no longer interested. We mean drinking all this at one time, not drinking it over a few days or over hours. By the time you're getting to the fourth, maybe you may not even be interested in drinking it again. So we say the first cup of tea may be more satisfying than the second cup, and the satisfaction may reduce progressively as we move from cup to cup. The same could be said about the water. So this is water. You have these cups. You take the first, you take the second, you take the third. By the time you go to the fourth, you might not even get any satisfaction from drinking the water. So the normal tendency is that with the consumption of each extra unit, that is a cup or a glass of water, a teacup or a glass of water, the total utility keeps increasing as you enjoy the water. Total utility can only start decreasing when you no longer enjoy the water. So the total utility keeps increasing, but the marginal utility keeps decreasing. That means from the first glass, as you are going to the next and the next, the marginal utility keeps decreasing, and the total utility rather increases. And marginal utility could reduce till it becomes negative. And how will it become negative? This is when an extra cup of tea or glass of water gives no satisfaction and rather makes the consumer uncomfortable. So, if an extra glass of water rather makes you uncomfortable, it means that marginal utility is on the negative side. So, from this statement about marginal utility, the law was developed, law of diminishing marginal utility. The law of diminishing marginal utility simply states that the satisfaction derived from the consumption of an additional unit of a commodity will decrease as more of the commodity is consumed. The law states that the satisfaction derived from the consumption of an additional unit of a commodity will decrease as more of the commodity is consumed. Of course, when we are saying this, we are assuming that the consumption of other goods remains constant. That's what we are assuming. So, marginal utility drops to a point. When marginal utility drops to 0.0, the consumer has reached what they call satiation point. And that is, you have consumed to that point where you no longer want to consume again. So if you are forced to consume beyond that, the marginal utility certainly becomes negative. So we propose that you read Whitehead, Economics Made Easy. For your further reading, that is what we need. We have